All righty, people. We are back. We are back. We are back for another installment of Muscles. Well, Morsels and Mindsets, but it's actually Morsels, Muscles, and Mindsets. I defy you people to read that every week quickly, cogently, intelligently, and not screwed up at least once. Like I was explaining to Melissa, the co-host extraordinaire from north of the border, where it was minus hot earlier in the week. We're gonna get into that in a second because I got a, I don't know if you can see it, a little winter
Oh yeah,
wonderland going on here.
yeah.
But let's fast forward to that. Why not? How do you what was it? 31 minus 31?
It was minus 35 with the wind chill.
Five. Oh, so 31 would have been balmy.
Sure.
Yeah, it's funny. I look outside and it's beautiful blue skies against the white snow, and it looks gorgeous. And it's like, my computer, I can't tell. It's like in the 30s. So I go outside, I can run around and stuff. In fact, this morning I was outside having coffee. Being the incredibly mature individual that I am, I got snow off of my car and I threw it at Lily's window to get her up because she was already awake. The light was on, right? And I was like, come outside. And she's like, no, you're dumb. You're out there. You stay out there with your coffee and your immaturity throwing snowballs at my window and everybody wins.
Yeah.
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 So what do you do? Like, clearly you stay inside, but I mean, can you go different places? Are the roads safe enough to drive when it's like that? I mean, do you need like the snow speeders or the AT-ATs to get from one place to the other? I don't get it. Help me understand.
Everything goes as per normal. Personally, I don't go outside, but I am lucky enough to have a job where I work from home, so I need not go outside. However, everything runs like normal. Everybody goes to school, everybody goes to work, everybody does their stuff. Minus 35 here, technically, with the wind, is not actually. It's cold. Don't get me wrong. It's freezing, but it's not as cold as it gets.
Wait.
Everyone should see his face.
It's not as cold as it gets at minus 35.
No.
Where does it go?
A couple of years ago, it got as low as minus. This is the coldest I've seen it. And I've lived here for almost 20 years. A couple of years ago, what year are we? I think it was in 2020, the year of everything. It got to minus 58 one day with the wind.
So, what does it cost you to keep your house heated for that temperature? I mean, it's got to be an arm and a leg, no? I mean, you guys must have like steel belted insulation.
I would say it's no more than, I mean, obviously it's more than when you don't need to have the heat on, but
Sure.
yes, yeah, no more than probably the AC in the summer.
So, what do you keep the temperature at in the house?
The temperature in my house right now is 23. And
Well, is that like normal temperatures or Celsius?
That's Celsius.
So, what is that in the Fahrenheit?
Don't ask me. That's your domain.
Look, I got into this fitness profession so I wouldn't have to do any math outside of counting reps and sets and apparently absolutely annihilating the way a digital watch works during a group workout.
Exactly. Don't ask me anything about math. I have no idea.
It's like plus, I don't know. I always during the Tour de France when I'm watching it.
We can pull out the great Google if you really want to know.
I do on principle, actually.
Okay. 23 Celsius to Fahrenheit. 73.4.
Okay. See, that wouldn't fly in my house. Like whenever one of us even feels somewhat chilly, Jill's like, put on a coat.
No, I need to have it warm. I can't stand
but
it.
But I have a coat on and I can see my breath. Put on another one.
Yeah,
long time. We'll get to the fitness stuff at some point, people. We're catching up here, so just bear with us. It's entertaining, so just be quiet and listen. We went on a college trip. A friend of ours had a cabin in the snow somewhere. And we went up there, and his brother was just like militant about no heater. And we woke up the next morning. We could see our breath inside the house, Melissa. Like we almost didn't have to put any of the drinks in a cooler because we could just leave them out.
That's a hard no for Melissa. A hard no.
Right? Well done, the Letterkenny hard no, by the way. I appreciate that. appreciates what's eyes appreciates about yous. Okay, so allegedly, also a Letterkenny phrase. Allegedly, this is a fitness podcast where fitness factoids are doled out en masse by two incredibly experienced, well-versed, well-knowledged, and tremendously awesome Chuck Taylor wearing, sunglass buying fitness professionals. And I'm just drinking water, folks, I promise. So we should probably get into that. So for the most part, there are holidays going on.
Holidays.
I don't know, maybe, who knows, in your country and mine there at least. And people are going to go off the rails big time. Like for instance, I might have found the bag of Switch Witch Halloween candy in my closet in a bag that my wife was trying to hide from me that I discovered. And I might have had, it pains me to say this, and I'll have to let John know, but I had a Reese's peanut butter cup out of that.
Oh, yummy.
Yeah, it was really good. And I sadly have only hit that bag once. It's weird. Like I know it's there and I'm not hitting it, which I'm proud of myself for the personal growth. And yet at the same time, I'm really disappointed in myself for the personal growth. It's kind of a double-edged sword.
Right.
So, right. But I wouldn't want to eat that and then feel terrible mentally because I would just crash my sugar system more or less. And then physically being just like, oh God, I feel terrible. I don't want to move. So people are going to be going out. There's going to be loads of good food to eat, tasty food, chocolates, things that hopefully are deep fried. And if you're really lucky, it's deep fried in chocolate. And how should people approach that? I mean, what do you advise people to let them know that, look, it is okay to go off the rails a little bit this time of year? It's just, it would be not fun otherwise. What do you do?
The problem with the holidays is not the holidays. The problem with the holidays is the mindset around the holidays. All in or all out. Instead, we need to be moderate 365 days of the year, and then we don't feel like we have to go off the rails. We're just going to moderate we're just going to do what we do all throughout the whole entire year anyway, which is enlist or instill moderation, not all or nothing mentalities. Most of the advice I give my clients is, I mean, tips and tools, obviously, but most of the advice I give is that they should enjoy in moderation, but with mindful intention. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway, because it's our show. We can say what we want, right? The saying that I use that always hits home with my clients and they never forget is don't eat and drink like an asshole. Simple.
But and don't act like one after you drink either, right?
Don't act like one after. Realistically, you can have anything you want, and you should literally be allowing those things, allowing in quotation marks, though anything that you enjoy all throughout the year. And that way, when you go into things like vacations and holidays, you don't have this mindset of, well, I've eliminated all of this all the other days throughout the year, and now I need to eat and eat and eat and eat because it's never available to me. If you allow those things to be available to you all throughout the year, you have less of that need to go hardcore and eat all of the stuff like an asshole moving forward. Think about how you want to feel. Think about how come the end of the holidays you would prefer to be, feeling good about yourself, feeling good about the choices you made. That doesn't mean that you can't have chocolate or can't have chips or can't have booze or can't have whatever, but moderate it and be mindful about how you do it. Be intentional about how you do it. Put some tools in place, things like asking yourself those questions. How do I want to feel? How is this going to make me feel? Yada, yada. Protecting your environment is also a really good one. Don't have bags of candy necessarily lying around where you know that they are. Get your wife to hide them on you, and hopefully she hides them up well enough that you don't know where they are or can't find them. Or another tip that I use that I tell my clients often is be a snob about your high calorie choices. So don't eat it just for the sake of eating it because it's there, but instead, is this your favorite thing? Is this something you love? Is this a holiday tradition of yours? Yeah, okay. If that's the case, by all means, enjoy, indulge. But a lot of people find themselves eating because they're standing around the table and they're not even really hungry. or because there's all these snacks around and they don't even really enjoy what they're eating, but they're eating it for the sake of eating it. If you be a snob about your high calorie choices and be intentional with those choices, then you're less likely to just eat a bunch of stuff for the sake of eating it.
Oh man, the the holiday parties that I've been to, it's like the holiday bark. Oh,
So good.
right. And the holiday bark, I think somebody had pretzel version one time. Oh my
Oh
god.
yeah, sounds yummy.
Oh, oh, I almost needed tux pants for a month. But I felt
Sorry, go
horrible
ahead.
after. And then they brought out like this oh, what was it? Some meaty, cheesy thing. And I was like, to your point, it's like, oh, I just ate the C list meal and the A lister just came out and I got no room. I am disappointed, dismayed, and distraught about
And
that.
the other thing to remember is that you still have control of a lot of stuff throughout the holidays. Yeah, okay, there may be a lot of holiday parties, lot more family get-togethers, a lot more, days when things are off routine and off structure. But any meal, any moment, anything that you can take control over, you don't just let that go just because you've had extra off routine days, off routine meals, off plan things. You still control all of the things you can control every day, every moment. So that might be for some people, for most people, I would say, like breakfast and lunch are probably controllable most of the time. And then you may be going out for a party or going out for dinner, or you have family coming over for dinner or whatever. And that one might not be as controllable. So then you've still maintained control through your other meals throughout the day or your other snacks. And so you have more indulgent in your dinner meal, but then you just go back to normal after that. Like you have still have control of a lot of things, even though the holidays seem less routine and structured.
So, with that being said, what would you? I mean, do you are people eating okay for breakfast? If you're going off the rails later on with high carb, high sugar, then fatty protein bombs. Or if you're doing that at lunch, try to hit the bookend meals with high protein, maybe high greens or whatever. What do you tell people? What would you recommend?
I think personally, and what I usually tell people is that protein and vegetables should make up the majority of your meals most of the time anyway. Like for instance, breakfast and lunch can definitely be controlled more and have more protein and vegetables. That your protein, vegetables, and fiber. Then you're already going into your dinner meal probably even fuller and less likely to, because a lot of people tend to either do one of two things: starve themselves all day and not eat, and then they're going in like starving for dinner and then way overeating. Or a lot of people will try and hold back a bunch of calories so they have more wiggle room. There's not necessarily anything wrong with that, provided you have a mindset whereby you're still able to be mindfully intentional with your dinner meal. But sometimes that can backfire because again, you're going into the meal starving. If you prioritize and make the majority of your meals prior to your party or your get together or whatever protein and vegetables, you're likely to go in already feeling somewhat full and less likely to the need to be, gorging yourself because you're not necessarily starving. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yes, very much so. I'm just it's funny because part of me is like, well, why the hell would you go to a holiday function and there's loads of tasty eats and not just punish the the table of food? And the other part of me is like, because you would feel terrible the next day. And then the other part of me is like, well, what if there's a lot of fatty protein stuff? And then it's okay because it's protein. And then maybe get some broccoli and dip it in some kind of sour cream, and then you're and then the
Well,
responsible adult, aka the Melissa part of my brain's like, no, that's not how you do it.
when I go out for things like, say, for instance, Kevin and I often go to New Year's Eve party where dinner and everything's included. I will take some of every single thing that's in the buffet line or whatever it is, but I still only eat till I'm satisfied, not stuffed. And my goal is still to keep everything normal up to the dinner party or whatever. But I don't deprive myself of any dessert or any bread or anything like that.
Nice.
You know, turkey and gravy or whatever is included. All of that is something that I eat. Just that I'm very mindful with how I want to feel, because the worst thing for me personally, the worst thing is getting up from the table and feeling ew. You know, you ate too much and now you feel yucky, and then there's a dance coming next and now you feel yucky for dancing, and then the next day you whatever. It just don't feel good. So I always think about how I want to feel. That's how I go into these things. Of course, it's required a lot of practice on my end because I wasn't always like this. But these are the things that I help my clients kind of overcome and understand and ask themselves those questions so that they can make the choices more with their own power, less of I can't, more of I do or don't want this, or want to, feel like this, or whatever the case might be.
Okay. Okay. So it sounds like moderation, first and foremost, protein and veggies with every meal, most definitely.
Yeah.
And just be simple with your approach, and don't eat like a quote asshole unquote. Right?
And yes, and absolutely enjoy your holidays, have fun with your family, all the things, experience all of your normal traditions, but don't go into it with a mindset of I might as well just stop now because all of this stuff is all of these days are going to be off plan, off routine, off structure. Take control of everything you can control in every moment.
Boom. Words to live by, my friends. I really like to be a snob about the high calorie meals. And it's not so much if you're going to go big, go home. If you're going to go big, make it count.
Yeah, exactly. If you're going to go big, actually enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like Christmas bark, yummy.
Yeah. Yeah. But now I'm thinking, if Christmas bark was sitting next to lasagna with a fettuccine Alfredo chaser, I don't know if I could be barking up that tree, so to speak. I might have to hit the lasagna and the fettuccine with a handful of greens so that way I could get everything.
For me, it would be if Christmas bark was sitting next to some sort of peanut butter thing, Christmas bark would always lose. Peanut butter always wins.
Right. What about, how about this? Spoonful of peanut butter, creamy peanut butter, by the way. We don't screw around with crunchy, because if you can have crunchy peanut butter, get a handful of peanuts, put it in between two pieces of bread, and go to town. Crunchy, or Jesus, bark. Thank you. Holiday bark with the peanut butter jar, maybe a little scoop, a little scoopy action, right?
Gosh.
Yeah.
Stop
And at
it.
that point, I'm hoping the kids aren't home, because whenever I do things like that, I have to share. And then I'm like Schmiegel with the precious, I'm like, no, I'm not sharing this ring with you, you little hobbits, get out of here.
Too funny.
All right. Well, I like that. And that pairs up really well with keeping the same approach for movement too.
Absolutely.
I think that people get too rigid around, I have 897 things to do in the next half hour, and yet I still will stick to my 60-minute workout, even though I've only got 30 minutes with which to do it.
Right.
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen, people. That guy who was pushing the boulder up the hill repeatedly, better luck than you trying to pull that one off.
Yeah.
So stop working out. Just stop it. Stop working out. Stick to a consistent movement habit. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Just be consistent, because after the first of the year, when you make your New Year's resolutions don't work, by the way. 92+% of them fail.
I'll second that.
Right? Don't do it. Resolve to be good the first week of January, then resolve to be good the second week of January, then the third week, and then kind of build from there. And then maybe you can go out a few months. Anyway, just be simple. Stop working out, cut out the clutter of everything you were doing, and just pick some big rock movements, like with your high-end calorie thing there, the calories that count, go for the movements that count. A squat, a push, and a pull. Done. That you can get 10, 15 minutes out of that, and you get your heart rate up a little bit, and you can feel good. If you really want to go crazy and be, I'm just going to say it, stupid, because I did this the other day because I didn't have time, and then I hated it so much, I did it again a few days later. I did sandbag, bear hug, EMOM workout with squats,
Oh,
and
yeah.
EMOM, for those of you not in the know, is every minute on the minute. And for some reason, in my mind, I like doing sixes. So bear hug, grabbing the sandbag like I'm hugging a bear, which wouldn't really happen, because if I was hugging a bear, I'd have bigger issues than my fitness level at that point. Because then I think the bear might be considering, okay, is this guy the A-list meal I want to eat, or do I want to go with something else?
I'm gonna grab something else.
What kind of fat and protein does this guy have on his body? Let's go from there. But he's holding on to some sticks, so there's my fiber. Anyway, go big with that kind of thing. So I did, like I said, the sandbag squats, and I thought it would be a good idea to put an exercise band around my knees, underneath the kneecaps. My left knee was been a little funky. That took care of it. And then the next day I was like, hey, this is not this bad. And then I went up the stairs and I was like, that was a really bad idea. But it was good because in, well, 11 minutes or whatever that is, I got a lot of movement in and I felt better. And the head was clear. I had a little more energy and I felt accomplished because I got something done. Right. Exactly. Then I think I threw in a few push-ups after that and some suspension strap rowing and boom, done.
Done.
Yeah. Compound movements, big rocks, done.
Don't you just love it when you do something and then you're like, oh, that wasn't so bad. And then all of a sudden you move or go up the stairs or whatever. And it's like, oh, nope, that was bad. I can feel it.
Those are always the worst workouts.
They actually are.
The ones that you don't think did anything at all. Like, yeah. This is a total waste of time. Oh God. The next day, right? Yeah, dude. Those are the absolute worst. And for some reason, I like to find those and see how many of them I can do in a week. Because, you know, I have it all logged and everything else. But yeah, whatever. So the power of 3 people.
What about if you literally don't have time? Like, what are your recommendations if you literally don't have time, people say, anyways, for anything? Do you have anything? Like if you can't say even give 15 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever to do something, is there anything else that you recommend?
If you have kiddos, play tag for 10 minutes, even 5 minutes, go play tag with them or put them on your back and piggyback rides. That's a big thing in my house when I need to move. Hey, who wants a piggyback ride? You know, translation, daddy needs exercise so he doesn't start drinking. And, you know, I always try to go with Lily first because she weighs more than Jeremy does, right? And then every once in a while, they both want to get on, which is a lot of fun. And go up and down the stairs, walk around the house, go outside, and then come back inside, and then maybe crawl around. They get on my back and crawl around. So just be simple. Get up and down from the floor for 5 minutes. That's it.
Yeah. You can go up and down the stairs if you have stairs in your house, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Like anything at all like that gets you actually moving.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Sometimes, and I'm looking at what my neighbor's doing it right now. Shoveling snow, go out there, shovel the snow, rake the leaves. Some physically active something or other out in the yard. It isn't in an exercise manual, but it is physical movement.
Right.
You know.
That's what I was getting at. Because some people convince themselves they don't have time to spend 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes doing a designated routine. So the recommendation is to still move, but maybe you don't set at least you're doing something that's movement oriented.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like here at the house, we have a soccer ball, so we'll just 5 minutes and run in place, and I'll kick it against the wall back for a little bit for a few minutes until the kids come around, and then the ball almost goes through a window, and Jill's like, "Hey, I thought I said no kicking the ball in the house." Like, sorry. She looks at me like you do sometimes, like, you're really an adult. How'd you make it this far?
Come from here.
Snowball fights, actually. Those are fun, and it's exercise because you're doing the agility of getting out of the way of somebody throwing a snowball at you with the kids, mind you. Not like on Elf where you got the guy with the howitzer for the right arm. Classic.
Kids sliding is another good one because you have to walk up and down the hill.
Yeah.
Drag them up the hill.
Yeah, they last year. The local bike park got loads of snow, so there were 2 sleds full of about 180, 90 pounds of kids. And luckily, I got to be Donner, Dancer, Blitzen all the way to Rudolph out in the front. And I was towing them around for a good, gosh, I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And part of me was like, oh, God, this is horrible. And then the fitness nerd in me is like, oh, my God, the hip extension of my glutes is making my back feel so amazing. and super thick snow and then of course go faster, and I start slowing down. Boo! They start throwing snow at me. Go faster! I'm like, oh my god, this is terrible. But even things like that, just towing your kids
Yeah.
around if you live in an area like that
Yes.
with snow and whatnot. Maybe not if it's minus 975 degrees outside,
Right.
but
There you
it's 72.3 inside your house. Don't
go.
do it. But if you're able to safely, go play in the snow.
Yeah. And if you're not, go enjoy the beach. Yay!
Yeah, right? Oh, the beach.
Right?
I remember sand and and ocean, and that was pretty cool. That was good stuff. So what do you have your folks do so they can stay consistent from a movement perspective?
From a movement perspective, I usually just program body weight workouts if they're traveling or anything. If not, most of my clients right now anyway, don't have any trouble showing up for at least three, say 30-minute workouts a week. But when we start to, as you said, only have 15 minutes or 10 minutes, I just program accordingly. Do what you just said. A push, pull, and a squat. Perfect. That's usually what I do. And yeah. And then of course, if somebody's traveling and they have no access to equipment and they don't have time, and that's why I asked you the question. I just recommend that people move as much as possible. Even going for a walk is better than doing nothing.
Yeah, agreed. For sure, for sure. All right, so there you go, people. Keep it simple when you're eating. Keep it simple when you're moving. I wrote a blog post about that this week. Put that in the notes so you can get a little less Al out of 10 verbally, but more Al out of 10 literally, journalism major. I can't even spell. And you know what I'm talking about. And you'll figure out everything else. So this phenomenon fascinates me. Since we touched on it, let's get into it. The New Year's resolution thing. It like you see all of the new year, new you nonsense that's coming down the bend on social media and whatnot, knowing full well statistically it is an absolute dumpster fire to make a New Year's resolution. So what should people's mindset be around, okay, for whatever reason, first of the year, first of the month, first of the week is typically when people are like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna run a marathon by tomorrow, even though I don't walk around my block. So how can people best temper their expectations balanced with, okay, look, here's the deal. Goals are amazing. The
Absolutely.
plan in the system to reach the goal is more amazing because if you have the plan in the system, the goal will typically take care of itself with consistency. So how would you advise people to approach the new year, new you nonsense with a common sense approach based in simplicity and basics and something that will actually be effective?
Well, the first thing I do when people tell me they're waiting till January is that
Oh,
I advise them not to wait. For me, when you teach yourself that it's okay to wait, you're teaching yourself that it's okay to stop and pause everything. And if
yep.
you really want to create a lifestyle, there's no such thing as stop or pause. There's sure, absolutely. There's times you can do a lot and there's times you can't do as much, but your dial never gets to be turned off, or your whatever. Your lifestyle never gets to be turned off. The second thing that I like to tell people is that there's absolutely nothing magical about January 1st that can't also happen on December the 15th. Nothing. Just like there's nothing special that happens on a Monday that can't also happen on a Thursday.
Oh
And
my God, that is
then I
brilliant.
think that it's really important to understand that what happens in January is that people go from 0 to 100. And then within a maximum of 30 days, they're back to 0 because they burnt themselves out entirely, because they've literally gone from nothing or very little to all out, all the workouts, all the cutting of all the food that they were eating, and they're white knuckling through, and that leads to burnout and quitting almost 100% of the time. So if you keep your goals small and base them on changing habits and behaviors slowly over time. For instance, if you're drinking 500 milliliters of water now, let's increase that to a liter to start and get consistent with the liter. If you're I don't know, eating vegetables and fruit with only 2 of your meals now. Let's try and get consistent with eating that with 3 meals a day instead of just 2, as an example. If you're walking, say, getting around 5,000 steps a day, let's start by getting 6,000 to 6,500 consistently, and then we add on as we go. As opposed to, I'm only getting 3,000 steps a day most days. Let's go to 10,000 right out the bat. Most people can't do that consistently because their brain can't, you know, it's so much space to take up when you've only been doing this much, and now all of a sudden you're going to go all the way here.
Now, is that, again, I'm pointing the finger at the fitness industry, is that nature or nurture in terms of, is that human nature, or is that messaging that is skewing the approach? So people right now, and I'm so grateful that it's not directed at me, because Melissa put her hand in her head, or her head in her hands, and was just like, oh my God, did you really, kind of thing, like most parents do when their children's lack of planning becomes the parent's emergency. Like Melissa has gone full parent mode, full parent send, and I love it.
I honestly think it's a combination of both.
Okay.
I believe that the fitness industry is highly responsible for a lot of things. The way we've confused people, we've overwhelmed people, diet culture has been terrible for people's mindset.
Yes.
But at the same time, we're not very good at using common sense when we want to change. When
No.
we feel we want to change, we're horrible at using common sense techniques. Is that wrong of me to say? I don't know if it's wrong, but I just said it, so it's too late to take it.
You know what? It's our show, and if we want to be judgy, we can be judgy.
We're just not. I mean, when I say that we're not very good at using common sense, I was also one of these people. So,
oh yeah,
I get it. But when I sit back now and I think about some of the things that I did and how logical they were, they're not logical at all. Zero logic to go from 0 to 100, or to cut out all the food that you love, or to go from doing 0 workouts to working out 7 days, like 7 days a week or 6. Like, it makes no sense.
So yeah, I think because if you start to crush your workouts and you don't, there's a couple of things. If you don't have a plan and you don't have maybe technical ability with some of the exercises you want to do, and perhaps you pick the wrong exercises, burpees and kipping pull-ups, and
right.
I'm looking at you. You're not going to know what to do. I mean, in a perfect world, somebody would say, okay, I have this goal by date X next year. I'd like to achieve result Y.
Exactly.
I need these resources to make sure that I'm on the right path consistently, and that the start, my first step, is the right one. So I'm going to get a movement evaluation from a trainer. Sorry, something in my throat. And I'm going to talk to somebody like Melissa about, okay, how can I create realistic meal plans that will help me be consistent, allow me to go off the rails periodically, not feel bad about it, and just know that I'm human. I need to enjoy some food, and I'm going to keep going.
Yeah.
They would do that, right? I mean, even if it wasn't the two of us, which really, people, why would it not be the two of us? Let's be honest. Then find a book, or talk to somebody who who may have already got some really good results, because success leaves clues. What did they do? Would that match up with what you want to do? Right? Kind of thing. There has to be a plan, because a rudderless ship doesn't really go anywhere.
Exactly.
And I think that's where one of the things that people get wrong is, if you could do it on your own by December 31st, 11:59 p.m. and 59 seconds, you would have done it last January 1st at midnight. Right? I used to think this was sheer lunacy, but in one of his books, Dan John says, your goal for the next year on the scale should be to weigh 1 pound less than you do the day you stand on it. And I thought, come on, Dan, how difficult is it to lose 1 pound a year? And 12 months later, I was like, shit, it's not as easy as I thought it was. So he was spot on, because if there's not a plan, you can't set the goal because you don't have the strategy to go from you're here to you're new there. You have to have help with that.
Yeah. And I think that, and this is just because I spend a lot of time analyzing why people do what they do. Because a lot of my coaching focuses on mindset mostly. I mean, nutrition, obviously, and even workouts, obviously, but I focus a lot of my coaching on mindset. So I think that a lot of people get caught up in the fact that it's just food and it's just movement in their mind. So it's just food
Oh,
and it's just movement. I should know how to do this because I eat every day and I move every day. So I should know how to do these things. But it's so much more than just food and workouts.
yes. The other day, and I'm not going to name the entity because it's a really well-known brand in our industry. There was somebody, they did one of those 3 exercises to flatten your tummy thing,
Oh God.
right? And I was just like,
I'm doing the thing with my head again. Just
but see, again, people, it's not at me, so yay. And I thought, this is such bullshit. Do better. You know damn well that is not possible. It has to be for optimum fat loss. There's got to be sleep, and if you don't have sleep, forget about trying to do anything else.
yep.
And it's got to be, you have to set up your body, the environment physiologically, hormonally, for your body to utilize the energy and systems necessary to get leaner. You have to improve your insulin sensitivity. And this is stuff that really, unless you talk to somebody who knows what the two of us do, which is why people should work with us, then it's difficult to really get a hold of that. I mean, I'm not a nutrition person. I can't tell people what to eat and that kind of stuff, but I know enough to where I can send them to somebody like you to help with their insulin sensitivity, to help them set up that optimal physiological environment for their body hormonally to lean out and put on a little bit of extra muscle. And I was so shocked, but not shocked, that I saw this, and I was just like, oh my God, do better, be better. Come on. Let's all help each other.
Brutal. Nothing shocks me anymore with this.
And it's funny because is that because it's a social media darling post to where you can get people on board easily? Because people just don't know, right? They don't know what we know.
I don't know.
If you've done that before and it didn't work, what would lead you to think that you could spot reduce? And my understanding is you can spot reduce if you do tens of thousands of repetitions in a particular area. I don't have that kind of time, nor do I want to spend that kind of time doing that. I would rather just work on the system as a whole, knowing that, okay, well, one day I'm going to lose something from quadrant X, and the next day it might come from quadrant Y, and then the next day it might come from this part of the body, and then maybe that part of the body. It's not systematic like, hey, I want to lose the boiler in the middle. Let's get rid of it. And then your muscles like, all right, on, we'll focus all the fat loss right there. It's like, no, man, that's not how it works, people.
No,
That's not how it works.
No, it is not.
I think our soapbox conversations are so enjoyable. Can I just tell you that right now?
I 100% agree. I love those shameless plugs you put in there as well.
Well, sure. We're not going to plug each other. Who's going to? So when people come to you like that and they say, hey, I want to flatten this area or tone this particular area or things like that. And after you've got the mousetrap in your pocket with your fingers in it, where do you start them? Where direction do you point them in to begin with?
I'm very direct, in case you haven't noticed.
No.
I'm not at all mean. I'm very nice. I'm very empathetic, but I do like to provide people with facts. And I'm not one of those people who markets myself in a way of the things that I would never do myself.
Right.
So I just tell them exactly like it is. You can't spot reduce. So here's what we need to do, and here's what we need to work on to get you where you want to go, whatever your goal is. XYZ. We need to work on these things. And this is why. Then I will explain why. I will explain why we can't just do millions of crunches and see a six pack. I will explain why we need to work on habits to create habits and behavior change so that not only do you get to your goal, you can actually sustain it when you get there. So that's basically what I do. Sometimes it turns people away because they don't like to hear the truth. And other times people will go, oh, that makes so much sense. And then voila.
You're a hell of a lot nicer than I am. When I had gotten that question before, I told him, I said, look, here's the deal. Do you want the back of your arms to be sore because you'll feel like you did something? The same with your abs, and you just build strength in those areas and not really do all that much else? Or do you really want to lose what you're looking for and lean out head to toe? Right? It's just kind of like there's a difference, people. There's a difference. Nature versus nurture.
Yes, sir.
There it is.
There it
All
is.
right. Well, I don't want Melissa to know what it's like to deal with kids with low blood sugar in terms of putting her head in her hands and just like, oh my God, what are you people doing? Like the other day, I got yelled at because a laptop charging cord was missing, because it was missing, and I'm doing air quotes here, missing in the drawer where the other chargers always are. So, like a shoe that belongs with a foot inside of it, because that's a logical foot goes in the shoe, charging cord goes in the charging cord drawer. However, A to B wasn't bridged like that. And then everybody else was just like, oh my God, what is going on? Anyway, I don't really know how I got there, but that was very therapeutic. So I feel so much better.
That your kids need to be fed and you have to go because it's time to end this one because your kids need to be fed.
Yeah, so typically I'm picturing Melissa's head being, okay, this is all we have time for today. We'll pick it up here next week. And then we end the show. So that's all we have time for today, people. We'll pick it up here next week. Melissa, where can the good folks listening find you?
You can find me on IG at fitgirlsrock.melissa or Facebook at fitgirlsrock or Melissa Shevchenko. And you, Mr. Al Painter?
Well, assuming that after listening to this show, people would still want more information from me, which I'm going to say is quite a stretch at this point. They can go to integratefitness.com and really let's go /blog-1, because then you can read all my literary musings about all the stuff that we talk about. You can go to Instagram at Do You Integrate. That also works on the Facebook and the Twitterati as well. So for now, I am Alberto Pintor. This is Melissa Shevchenko, and we have had a blast talking, soapboxing, and just having a good time, helping you people be more informed fitness consumers. Until next time, bye-bye.
Bye.